Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Safari Mack. I'm your guide and your host helping you make connections to the wild. Now before we begin today's video, I'd like to take a moment and make a couple of announcements. One, I want to thank all of you for your support in helping me continue my series. It means a lot. For those who are joining me for the first time, welcome. If you haven't done so, check out my other videos, which I will leave the links to down in the description below. Also, if anybody has questions about animals, or maybe there's probably something that you thought of that maybe I didn't cover in my previous videos, be sure to either send me an email, which I will also leave down in the description below, or check out my Facebook page, Safari Mack, spelled M-A-C-K. And as always, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so that you can stay tuned for the next animal as well as the next video update, or wherever we're going to go to next. With that said, Let's go to the Southeast Asian islands of Borneo and Sumatra and uncover the secrets of what the Malay language translates to the man of the forest, what we know as the orangutan. The orangutan is a member of the primate family, more specifically, a member of the ape family. But now, did you know that there are actually two kinds of apes? There are the great apes, which include the chimpanzee, the gorilla, and the bonobo, or what we commonly know as the pygmy chimp. And then there is the lesser ape, which includes gibbons and others. But for today's video, we're just focusing on the orangutan. Now, I would like to clear up a little misconception. People often assume that we humans evolved from apes. Not necessarily true. The truth is, because it is evident that we share 98% of our genetic material with these magnificent creatures, it's more likely that we, along with the apes, evolved from a common ancestor that came into play somewhere around 12 to 15 million years ago. However, the first modern orangutans, according to orangutan.org, to this day, we still don't know exactly when they branched off from the ancestor and evolved their own bloodline, as well as claimed their spot on the family tree. We have absolutely no idea. However, fossils have shown that the earliest orangutans were once found up in China as well as other parts of Asia. Now, let's continue on to learn about the orangutans that we know today. Now, believe it or not, there are actually three kinds of orangutans. This includes the Bornean orangutan, which you can see right here in the top right corner. In the middle, the Sumatran orangutan, and a more recent discovery, the Tapanuli orangutan, which also lives on the southern part of Sumatra as well as some parts of Indonesia. Now, for this two-part episode, we're just going to focus on orangutans as a whole rather than specific subspecies. Now, unlike other great apes like chimpanzees and gorillas, orangutans lead a solitary arboreal lifestyle, meaning these creatures you would find mostly in the tops of the trees, almost never coming to the ground, with a few exceptions. As it turns out with studies, primatologists have discovered that every now and then, Bornean orangutans will come down to the ground. Maybe it's to look for food or just to explore their home, while Sumatran orangutans almost never come down to the ground. Why? No one really knows. It just shows that our work in conservation as well as research, there's still a lot more to be done. Now, as I mentioned, despite being primates, which primates are a kind of very social creature, I mean, we can't deny that we're social. Yeah, orangutans never really live in groups. So that show that you may have watched one time called Orangutan Island on Animal Planet, they weren't really living together. That was just more for rehabilitative purposes and helping orphans someday return to the wild. Now, believe it or not, because of their heavy nature and because these are the largest treetop dwelling animals, believe it or not, studies have also shown that by the time an orangutan reaches a certain age, they will actually have quite a number of broken bones simply from falling out of the trees. Now, in terms of how they live, like I said, they're completely solitary. only coming together if it's a male and female coming together to breed, or if it's a mother and young. Now, let's continue with their diet. 90% of their diet is fruit. And there's one particular fruit that we know as the most vile and horrid smelling, as well as god-awful tasting. Almost makes you want to throw up. I'm talking about the durian. That's this fruit here on the left. Now, why they love it? No one really knows. My guess, this is part of the fruit that helps meet all their nutritional requirements. However, thanks to their habitat being diverse rainforest, their fruit selection is a great, magnificent variety. One fruit that they've been documented seeming to go crazy for are figs. Now, a fig tree can only produce so much fruit, only maybe once every couple of years or so. But when it blossoms, it's like a boom town. Every animal, not just orangutans, but other primates, other mammals, birds, many different forms of wildlife come to these trees to eat their hearts out of figs. And once that's over, it's time to move on to the next tree or find the next fruiting season. But it's not just fruit. 10% of their diet also includes insects, eggs, leaves, bark. They've even been known to mysteriously eat dirt. Why? My guess, maybe it's a little something to add a little supplement. Who knows? In the human world, the orangutan is not at all what we would consider an alien. If you really when you look at these animals up close, it really is so hard not to see a human side to their nature. These creatures are truly amazing animals. In zoos, they are a major draw. I mean, seeing how intelligent they are, it really is almost impossible not to, right? In fact, because of their intelligence, zookeepers, or as we call them, caregivers, they have to work hard, not just to keep them well fed, but to keep them physically and mentally stable. And there are many tactics that they play, one of which is enrichment. Enrichment is similar to what, like, if you gave a dog a brand new toy to play with, or maybe a cat, like a scratching post, not just to keep their claws scratched nice and clear, but also just to keep them from doing something else that we don't want. Now, for orangutans, though, it's not for training. It's all for fun or for just to test their cognitive skills. As you can see, this orangutan here is making a game out of these blocks as well as this hay. But other methods include filling a kiddie pool with either toys or something else in which they can use to find food. Another form of cognitive demonstration is through studies. You can see here in the left corner, this orangutan is doing a kind of stimulation where a series of symbols appear, and this orangutan is remembering exactly the order in which the symbols first appear. And they can change it up, but usually they get it right almost 95% of the time. It truly is incredible to see these creatures in action. Well, I'm afraid, folks, that's all the time I have for this week's episode. Be sure to join me next Saturday as we uncover part 2 of the orangutan, which will include wild things, the threats that they're facing, and what we can do to help. And believe me, I do encourage you to tune in next week, especially for the threats and what we can do, because right now, orangutans are having a bit of a tough time. Why? You will find out next week. As always, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button to stay tuned. Send me an email, check out my Facebook page, and I hope to hear from all of you soon. Until next week, this is Safari Mack. See you out there in the wild.